What would Crocodile Dundee say? Finding Pinto, Part 2. Testing the Resources, Geography, and Language. Return of the Lequios, Part 6. Crocodile Dundee would say, "That's not an archipelago. This is an archipelago." And he's got a point. Pun intended. The Philippines is a sprawling chain of over 7,000 islands with rich trade history. They cannot forget, they cannot cover up. Mineral wealth and cultural depth. And the alternative is no theory and no alternative. The Ryukyus? A narrow string of small islands, beautiful but sparse, and lacking in almost every key resource Pinto described. In their translations, Katz and Cortazal and others especially behave in negligence, failing to recognize this when they well know something is wrong with the first publication. These are not Pinto experts in the slightest, as they have never conducted simple, basic research required to become such. We will in this video. Let's run the resource test. When we line up Pinto's descriptions of the Lequios with what we know today, the Philippines, particularly Northern Luzon, matches nearly every criteria. And Ryukyu proves a very illiterate replacement, failing almost everything. If one wants to commit such racist propaganda against the Philippines, you would think they would be a little brighter about it. Instead, they really rely only on their controlling the narrative, which, no longer works. Gold, the largest resource not known as prevalent in ancient Ryukyu, but massive record exists of the abundance of the Philippines called Ophir, Tarshish, Chryse, Argyre, etc. The very land of gold of antiquity, and it remains number 2 in untapped gold deposits in the ground, according to, well, not Rappler, who can't seem to read reports, who goes to the wrong report and says, yeah, it is. The Fraser Institute reported in Forbes magazine, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. We've shown all of those in our research, and many others, by the way. That's just fact. To find the land of gold, would one not first look for, well, let's see, the ancient gold? Well, only those representing the truth, of course. Not a single person espousing the so-called Ryukyu theory, no matter how many initials they have after their name, has done an ounce of research or reading very basic principles on the topic. Now, here's one that is amazing. Craftsmanship. Numerous references in Chinese, Spanish, and Portuguese records, which we've covered in our books and publishings very well, define Filipinos as extremely skilled in working with gold and other metals, as well as jewelry and other industries since, well, ancient times, long before colonialism. Ryukyu has zero such ancient history. Even the fake Jesuit history will be covered here, which was lost twice to history. What do you mean it was lost? You mean they lost it? They don't have the original history? Oh no, but it miraculously was restored by Jesuit institutions. Oops. Or shall we just call it what it is? They rewrote history in fraud, really. Only claims that Ryukyu got such goods from Southeast Asia. They were not native resources there, which they knew. So they tried to conflate it as if the Chinese got the Ryukyuans to go to Southeast Asia for them, when Chinese records, well, they simply don't say that. They say that they directly went to Southeast Asia, and more so, long before they were crossing the South China Sea, well, the Southeast Asians came to them. The problem is Pinto and others describe native resources. That's a big problem, and this is laughable. Ancient trade with Malacca and China. We have well covered even Chinese scrolls tell us the Philippines was arriving in Canton, according to Sir Douglas, the British Museum, to trade as early as 990 BC. And the archaeological record affirms that because it proves that Philippine goods made it to Vietnam and Taiwan as early as 1500 to 2000 BC. And Ryukyu? No such valid history exists, nor archaeological record, period. Read Solomon's Treasure free in ebook for a detailed resource test on Ophir and Chryse, Tarshish, and the land of gold of antiquity. Lequios had very good wheat, according to Pinto, according to several that we've actually even covered a couple already, but we're going to get to more. Not just any wheat, mind you. The Philippines has adlai, very good wheat, high in protein and nutritional value, grown in Batanes and North Luzon prior to the colonial era. That's just fact. Ryukyu has wheat that is not notable, and some records claim it was introduced later than Pinto's time. But regardless, it is not recorded in mass abundance, and they were not known for wheat. The Philippines was. And certainly not very good wheat. Local wine, that is unique. Now, Ryukyu is well known for a rice liquor. Oops, that's not wine. Since ancient times, they absolutely have, and give them credit for that, but that's not wine. Oops. The Philippines has homemade wine, made especially from sugarcane and even coconuts, called tuba and basi. That is noted many times in history. Ryukyu fails. And how about ebonywood? In the Philippines, this is known as kamagong. In Ryukyu, well, nothing. It is not native there. Imagine CAT seizes only on the one coordinate, 29 degrees north, the one that's fraud, without bothering to test all these things, and yet then commits fraud, changing Lequios in her text from the historic text to Ryukyu. You would just leave Lequios. You don't do that. No wonder so many scholars think Lequios is fiction when that is all they are fed. Trash. They realize it fails, but because it's supposed to be the only option, they reject the valid history as fake, based on their programmed paradigm, not reality. Because you see, if they just went a little further south into the Philippines and tested these resources, they're going to find a 100% match. And that is not fiction, my friends. Now let's look at the resources. Here's just a stack ranking of the resources. Notice Ryukyu has almost all X's. That is not a theory, it is illiterate. It always has been. It has never been valid history, nor a way to view it. It is propaganda. Now, looking at latitude, yes, we know that there is a conflict 29 degrees north. But see, it conflicts all the rest of this data, and even with the other latitudinal data that Pinto uses. He says it's 200 leagues from China, Fujian. That would be Luzon Island, Philippines, specifically the north. Ryukyu is only 100 leagues. It's off by 100%. Yeah, that's not a match. It's too close to China. It never fit this narrative. Abundant in gold, we've covered. Philippines check, Ryukyu X. White people. According to Antonio Gaval, a Portuguese, you do realize he wrote around the same time, and Pinto, Portuguese. Yeah, he explained how the Portuguese viewed what they call white people as Filipinos, not Chinese, not Ryukyuans and Japanese, and certainly not what he calls black people. Great craftsmanship we've covered. Direct trade with China and Malacca. That actually, there is a possible match there to Ryukyu, as it was a sort of vassal state of China in this era. So, okay, fine. So it gets one check after all the X's. Yeah. So it doesn't work as a theory. Etymology is extremely important, and Goros leads to Igaru. I mean, it really does. It's a strong linguistic connection, yet nothing as far as Ryukyu is concerned. And we're going to spend a whole video on the language that he uses, the place names. It is going to blow you away. It's coming in the next, either the next video or the one after. I think the one after. Then you have geographical proximity to India. You know, that particular route, natural path from Malacca. You're going to hit the Philippines, right? You don't hit Ryukyu. It's out of the way. You have to go further north when you're beyond many famous, Chinese ports, which would be right there to your east. You're passing right by them. And instead, you just bypass China to go, well, then hang a right and head east, quite far east, in order to get to Ryukyu. It is tucked in tiny little islands, very insignificant in history in this regard. It's not known for these resources, materials, and the geography doesn't even fit. Then you have volcanoes. That's in both, yes, but specifically volcanoes in Batanes and Babuyan are going to fit, and you're going to see that in the next two videos. The island size, this is a real problem for Ryukyu, because the island of Lequios, mentioned by Pinto, is 200 leagues in size. That is an exact, almost perfect match to Luzon Island, Philippines. There is no match to the entire archipelago of Ryukyu. If you put all the islands together, they're only 100 leagues total. Are you kidding? What a joke. I mean, some of their islands are 20 whole square kilometers in size. Even the largest island is ridiculous in this regard. Now, wine, sugarcane, coconut in the Philippines. No wine. Sorry, no wine in Ryukyu. They're not known for it. They're known for a rice liquor. Mapped officially as Lequios, well, from 1512 to 1539, really even 1544 in the Cabot map, which we've shown you. Well, that's the Philippines. Oh, not prior to Pinto. In Pinto's time, it was known as the Philippines. And see, Pinto would have known that, and he would have represented that. And this is where the dilemma occurs. This is why he was attacked, one of the great reasons, by the Jesuits, because he clearly told the truth geographically. Very good wheat we covered. Adlai in the Philippines, not known in Ryukyu at that time. Beeswax, found in the Philippines, mentioned even by the Spanish when they came. And in Ryukyu, not native, not known. Ebony wood, native. Kamagang, native to the Philippines. very well noted, very well known in history, and, whoops, not native to Ryukyu. So why is this a question? Why is there even a theory for Ryukyu when there is nothing to consider here? 5 very large islands of silver to the west of this Isle of Lequios where Pinto was shipwrecked. There's not even one there's not even one large island in Ryukyu. What a joke! How do you call yourself a scholar, an academic, and even consider it? It's incredible. Oh, but there are 5 very large islands in the Philippines with coordinates west of Batanes. Oops. Yeah, listed on screen. We're going to cover that in a video because that is a crucial point. And, did you know that maps actually preserve that data for centuries? And it's many maps, whether the cartographer even knew what they were doing or not. Silver, great abundance in Philippines. Not actually known as large in Ryukyu. Yes, they do have some minor silver deposits. They even have a minor gold deposit, but it is very new to history. They have no ancient applications for such in their history. Pearls, both. It's minor in Ryukyu, but we'll give them a check. The Philippines just happens to have the largest pearls on Earth. So again, not actually a contest. Amber. Oh, that's called copal, from the Almasiga tree, native to the Philippines. Not known. Not known in Ryukyu. Incense. Again, generally no aromatic wood production in Ryukyu. Diverse and abundant in the Philippines. Rosewood. Well, that would be a red wood like Nara. Well, that's the national tree of the Philippines. And, well, none in Ryukyu. Also, Kamagong could qualify in the Philippines. Brazil wood, Sibukao, and other dye woods are found in the Philippines natively. Are you kidding? Why do we even have to cover this is the question. How is it academic to even consider Ryukyu? And again, not native in Ryukyu. Eagle wood, agar wood it's called, native to the Philippines. Oops, nothing in Ryukyu. Silk fiber. It's found in, you can get silk fiber from the pina, the abaca, and the aklang parang, which is a silk tree, well noted in the Philippines, who is well known for silk trade. However, also production, and that is important here. Ryukyu, no native silk production. Pitch, asphalt. Oh, did you know there are asphalt deposits in multiple places throughout the Philippines, such as Leyte has rock asphalt in ancient form, right there, native, and there's actually several, even in, especially the Visayas area. There's none in Ryukyu. So why are we considering it? Well, we're not. Sugarcane cultivated since 2000 BC, according to the Agricultural Department of the Republic of the Philippines, that is. And, well, what does the Agricultural Department of Ryukyu say? It was introduced in the 1600s. That's after Pinto. Oops, it's not native and not available in this time. So what do we have here? We have a drum roll 100% match for the Philippines and 15% epic fail. Epic fail. Are you kidding me? 15%, and that is considered as a theory? That is brain dead. Now this is an appropriate scene, unfortunately. How on earth is it considered academic to release a translation and provide commentary without noticing all of this data? It is called propaganda. 15%. Are you kidding? What do you do with one who gets such a grade? Well, you don't promote them to the next grade, that's for sure, such as calling this a theory, when it never was. It doesn't get to graduate to the next level. It is just a really bad guess. Add to all of this epic failure for Ryukyu, no linguistic matches on any of the language used prior to the Jesuits, who made up a, Lequios tribe even, not recorded prior to the Jesuits. Islands named in Portuguese before the Portuguese ever got there. Now that is ridiculous, and a host of illiteracies that manifest with such blatant lies. Too small. I mean, for anything in this narrative, Ryukyu is just far too small of an existence to remotely fit. There's tons of historical entries, even about the purchase of tens of thousands of weapons that never happened in Ryukyu, who never had such population nor military significance in that era. The Philippines did and is the Isles of Gold, but let's ignore them, and keep propagating epic failure. No wonder so many scholars, again, think Lequios may actually be fiction. Because if it were Ryukyu, it would have to be at least, more than 15%? I don't know. You would think maybe at least 90%, right? I mean, that is a joke. It's not a theory. In fact, Ryukyu is not even mapped as Lequios before Pinto's time, such as this 1544 mapping of Sebastian Cabot. I'll talk about credible. He was hired by the Spanish as an explorer, and he's a famous cartographer as well. Canal of Lequios, there it is, right there, right next to Palawan in the Philippines. That's not Japan. Supangu's also there as Luzon, not Japan. Not a single large Japanese island exists in that entire space, yet all of Luzon does. That's pretty easy, you would think. Pinto knew the Portuguese and Spanish position for Lequios from maps and written Portuguese and Spanish history available to him. To treat him as ignorant of such is also a major fallacy on the part of these propagandists. Final score: Philippines, 100 out of 100 points. Ryukyu, F-, 15%. That's not just a fail. That's an academic faceplant. Subscribe for more lost history, suppressed stories, and inconvenient truths. Be sure to like and tell us what you think. And you may not want to rely on YouTube's ability to notify, as they seem to enjoy crushing content creators on many levels. For this channel especially, they simply do not notify many, as we have received thousands of messages saying so. Go to thegodculture.org and click the subscribe box at the bottom of the page. We will notify you ourselves. Always remember, prove all things for yourself. Thank you for watching. Yah bless to everyone. In the beginning, a garden was planted, enclosed within the earth, in the east, the Orient, far east, says Enoch before the flood, and Noah, who lived there and mapped it in the Philippines. The Bible has always led there, and even Bible historians knew how to read the Hebrew, such as Josephus in 90 AD, Lactantius and African in 310, and in 550, Cosmos, the Greek monk and merchant traveler who went to the Indies, wrote in Alexandria, Egypt, Africa, Christian topography, and he mapped paradise as the Philippines. That map was even published in the Greek edition of the Bible at one time, a 6th 6,000-year track record, forgotten today by illiterate scholars. They have no education on this topic. Let us explore this massive trove of ancient maps. Israel is not east, and a spring is a spring, not a river, and must be fed by a mega river as its source, and must connect to 3 other heads as well, all rivers, and actually salt water even. Can they read? Africa is not east, nor in Shem's far east, where the garden has always resided. Mesopotamia is the occult creation myth of the Nephilim. Nice, scholars. Modern rivers from rain did not even exist before the flood, and the Bible never uses the word Tigris ever in the original Hebrew. Why do modern scholars have no clue when the evidence is so vast? The Garden of Eden revealed, resolving the 6,000-year testimony, marking the Far East. Now available in print only, no ebook, on Amazon and Shopee Philippines. Over 75 high-resolution color historic maps with accurate interpretation no one can truly dispute. Get your book now, and a new series begins.